The Toronto Blue Jays are looking to translate their historically fast starts into a fast finish as they enter into the 2015 season. And here to give us a season preview of the Blue Jays is Michael Hode of Sportsnet.ca, who covers the Blue Jays. Michael, good afternoon, and thank you for spending part of your afternoon on the Two Man Advantage podcast.
Oh, my pleasure, Kevin. Thanks a lot for having me on.
So the two biggest additions for the Blue Jays this offseason were Russell Martin and a trade for Josh Donaldson. So can you start off by telling me what sort of a dynamic those two players in particular bring to the ball club?
Absolutely, sure. So Russell Martin is a veteran catcher. He's had a lot of experience in the postseason, especially of late, with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Catcher was not really a pressing need for the Blue Jays this offseason, but anytime you can go out and sign someone of Martin's pedigree, he's known as a great game caller around the league, great pitch receiver, can really guide a pitching staff through some tough times, which is going to be key for this very young Blue Jays rotation this year. And, offensively, he can certainly hold his own. He gets on base. So Russell Martin is a great addition, but I'm even more excited about Josh Donaldson this year. Brett Lawrie was thought to be a cornerstone of the Blue Jays franchise not too long ago. I think when they made that trade, everyone was shocked. I remember my reaction was utter disbelief, really. But having Josh Donaldson in that lineup really bolsters what the Blue Jays will do offensively. He's a perennial MVP candidate, lots of power, and let's keep in mind he has been playing in Oakland, which is a notorious pitcher's ballpark. So what he can do in the Rogers Center will be really exciting. And defensively, Lawrie was outstanding, but I don't think they're going to lose a step defensively with Donaldson either. So I'm really excited about both of those additions, Kevin.
Now, in terms of the catcher they had before, Navarro, he got 112 games a year ago. So how do you think the addition of Martin will affect him on the team? And how do you think that dynamic will work with both the young pitching staff, with Russell Martin on the team now, and the dynamic between both Navarro and Russell Martin?
Well, they're both veteran guys, and I'm sure they'll say that they're totally cool with each other. I would imagine it's going to be a little awkward. They're both definitely starting catchers in the MLB, but Navarro is now relegated to backup duties, and he could also see some time at DH. He's a quality bat that the Jays can use there, assuming Encarnacion can handle the bulk of first base. So I think the dynamic will be fine. It sounds like Navarro's going to catch probably Mark Burley. They had a good connection last year. Burley got off to that quick 10-win start. But if you have Russell Martin in there, you're not going to roll out Navarro as often.
And in terms of one of the biggest questions for the Blue Jays this offseason comes at second base, because they have a whole litany of options, including Ryan Goins, who could be considered the best defender of the group, and then you've got Macer Torres, and then you've got Devin Travis, who they got through the Tigers with the Anthony Ghost trade. So can you tell me, how do you think second base will shake out for John Gibbons this season over the long term?
Sure, absolutely. So I think going into the season, into spring training, everyone sort of assumed that Macer Torres would be the guy at second. He's being paid the biggest amount of money there, but he's not going to be ready for opening day. He has an injury right now. So that, coupled with the emergence of Devin Travis, he had a rough start to the spring, hitless in his first 11 at bats, but since then he's really turned it on. And today, actually, Gibbons announced that Travis, assuming he can stay healthy for the rest of the spring, will be the starting second baseman at Yankee Stadium. He has yet to reach a decision on Ryan Goins. As you mentioned there, his defense is outstanding. Some of the best defense at second base that I've seen in my young life here. So I am hoping that he's going to stick around with the big club, at least for now. He can even shift over to shortstop if Reyes needs a break from the turf. But Travis is right now looking like the guy at second, and I think that's going to be great. He can hit. His defense was questioned a bit, but he's proven that it's pretty solid, and he has a little bit of speed to boot too. So I'm excited for Travis at second.
And one of the biggest risks, I guess, that Alex Anthopoulos is taking is that in center field with Dalton Pompey. So, do you think he'll be ready to take on a full-time load in center field, or how do you see if he isn't ready, the position of center field shaking out?
Yeah, he's gonna get the chance to show to prove that he's ready early on. I think he is. This is a guy that shot through the minor league system last year and earned a September call up. I think he hit 230 in September, but this spring he's proven that he's a quality center fielder, especially defensively. His range is outstanding, and at the plate, he has his 2 home runs. Fun fact: he has a home run off of King Felix Hernandez, and he also this spring hit a home run off Justin Verlander. So 2 top-tier pitchers. But anyways, offensively, I don't think he can press too much. His power isn't outstanding. What he can provide the Jays is a little bit of small ball, manufacturing runs at the bottom of the order. We've seen him lay down some pretty nice bunts for base hits so far in the spring. So I think he'll stick around. If not, Michael Saunders was brought in to be the left fielder. He had that freak injury at the beginning of spring training, so he's not ready for opening day. But when he gets back, he can play a little bit of center. And they also have Kevin Pillar, another young outfielder who is going to start the season with the Blue Jays, and he could give Pompey a break in center from time to time as well.
And just transitioning back to Josh Donaldson for a minute, you had mentioned that you're excited about seeing him in the Rogers Center, but do you think the Blue Jays gave up too much for him? Do you think Oakland got too much of a haul, or how do you view that situation?
Honestly, I guess the old saying is whoever gets the best player wins the trade. Donaldson is hands down the best MLB-ready talent from that trade, so I have no problem with it. Oakland, though, I think the trade worked out for both teams. Oakland is trying to get younger, and they got Laurie, who has the chance to be a special third baseman, quite frankly. And also Kendall Graveman. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He is a minor league pitching prospect. And rumors out of Oakland right now are that he will crack the opening day rotation. So, the Blue Jays gave up a lot, but I believe they got a truly special player in Josh Donaldson.
And in terms of Edwin Encarnacion and Jose Bautista, the thunder of the Blue Jays lineup, the middle of the order, Alex Anthopoulos also said that the club would be interested in negotiating new deals for those 2 players in particular. So how do you see their impact on their seasons shaking out and their long-term future with the club?
Sure. So Jose Bautista already looks raring to go. He is destroying the baseball so far this spring. I don't think anyone's going to have any concerns. He should be locked in as the number 3 hitter in John Gibbons' lineup and should be as productive as ever. As for Edwin, he has been dealing with a bit of a back issue. He's back into games now. He might be a couple weeks behind the rest of the team in terms of just getting his timing right. But, once he gets those repetitions under his belt, he should be primed for a big year. He's got 3 outstanding hitters in front of him. He has Josh Donaldson behind him protecting him. So I think those 2 guys are going to have monstrous years. As for their contract situation, they're they have a team option, both of them do, for the 2016 season. They're cheap considering what those guys bring to a lineup. So they'll definitely have the club options picked up. Further down the road, I guess it sort of depends on what the Blue Jays are trying to do. When they made that big trade with the Miami Marlins to get Reyes and Burley and Josh Johnson, Alex Anthopoulos sort of told baseball that the Blue Jays were in win-now mode. So if their window is still open as of 2017, I think that Bautista and Encarnacion will still be around. But, if we find out that this core really isn't working out all that well, he could let those, whoever the general manager is at that time, could let those two walk and begin a bit of a rebuild.
And as we mentioned at the start of this interview, the Blue Jays are notorious for getting off the faster starts and sort of fading afterwards. So what's the key in your mind for a high level of consistency, especially in a wide open AL East this year?
Sure. So I guess I have a couple keys to a good season. So first one would just be staying healthy. I mean, they've had some rough luck so far this spring. The Saunders injury where he stepped on a sprinkler and had to get his meniscus removed. I mean, you can't even script that. That's just total fluke. Yeah. So that one and Stroman. The Stroman injury is actually, in my opinion, a backbreaker for this team. He was so good last year, and to not have that arm in the starting rotation this year is going to be tough. So just staying healthy. I think the young pitchers are going to need to step up. They're going to start the season with Aaron Sanchez, Daniel Norris, and Drew Hutchison in that starting rotation. So those three guys are going to need to contribute right away if the Jays are going to have a chance.
And in terms sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
In terms of the bullpen, the last couple of years, the Jays have relied on them to sort of bail out their ineffective starters, because over the last couple of years, I think they've pitched in 2013 513 innings, and this year, or 553 innings, sorry, and last year it was only 484. But how important will it be to get more out of their starters? And can you tell me about the bullpen as a whole?
Sure. So I guess we'll start at the closer position there. Brett Cecil has been named John Gibbons' closer to replace Casey Janssen, who is now with the Washington Nationals. So he's never closed before. He's shown in a few instances that he can come into high leverage situations and get the job done. He picked up, I think, 5 saves last year. So I'm not too worried about Cecil. He's got that amazing curveball for his strikeout pitch. So I think he'll be fine for the 9th. Bullpens, first of all, they're just so hard to predict. I mean, we saw Cecil and Steve Delabar as all-stars in 2013. The bullpen on the whole was quite good. Cecil last year continued his great pitching, but Delabar really regressed and ended up in the minors. This year, they're going to be starting with 2 youngsters, it sounds like, with Miguel Castro and Roberto Osuna, very young pitchers. Castro doesn't even speak English, so that'll be interesting. So if they can get some production out of those 2 guys, I think the bullpen will be fine. You have Todd Redmond most likely coming back for some long relief, as well as Marco Estrada in that role. So I think the bullpen, it's probably the biggest weakness on this team, but you never know. With bullpens, they can be outstanding and they can be terrible, realistically. So.
And can you just give me a thumbnail on how you think the starting rotation will perform this year and shake out as a whole?
Sure. So first of all, the 5 members of that rotation are going to be Ari Dickey and Mark Burley as the 2 sort of veteran guys. You know what you're going to get from them. Burley's gone 200 innings. We'll see if he can do it again. I'm sure he can. He's very durable. Dickey, again, you know what you're getting from him. What is the wild card are the three other guys in that rotation. Drew Hutchison, who has actually been named the opening day starter at Yankee Stadium. We'll see if he can take another step forward this year, another year removed from Tommy John surgery. His stuff is awesome. Behind him, though, we have Aaron Sanchez, who was lights out, dominant out of the bullpen last year with an ERA under 2. If he can translate some of that bullpen success into starting success, he could be a very important man for the Jays. And then we have Daniel Norris, a lefty who, like Pompey, just shot through the Jays minor league system. His fastball is electric, and he looks like he's ready. Yesterday he gave up, I think it was 4 runs early on, but then recovered to strike out 8, including all 3 batters he faced in the 6th inning. So his stuff is certainly there. It's if those 3 can consistently get the job done and go deeper into games, then the rotation should be fine.
And can you tell me about the lineup the everyday lineup as a whole, and how do you think the dynamic will shake out for that? Because the Blue Jays are notoriously known for having a good offensive team. So can you tell me not only the addition of Donaldson, because that'll provide some additional power, but with Donaldson, Batista, and Edwin Encarnacion, the Blue Jays should be able to score some runs, shouldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. The offense is going to be huge for this team, especially if those young pitchers falter a little bit. The offense should be able to pick them up. I mean, you're looking at arguably the best top 5, in my opinion, in the whole league. You know, you have Reyes up there, assuming he can stay healthy this year. He was relatively healthy last year. He's a big factor. If he has a good year, he'll have definitely a chance to score 100 runs this year. So you have him leading off, Russell Martin behind him, who's a solid on-base guy. Then, like you say, you've got that sort of thunder and lightning power with Bautista, Edwin, and Donaldson. Behind them, it's a little bit of an unknown right now. When Saunders comes back, he'll probably hit in the 6th hole, a left-handed bat. Now you could see maybe Navarro there if he's DHing. And then at the bottom of the lineup, that's where I think they're going to need to get a little creative. It sounds like Justin Smoke is going to crack the team at first base. He provides some power at the bottom of the lineup, but besides him, you have Dalton Pompey and Devin Travis, who are sort of light-hitting guys. So it's going to be up to them to sort of play the small ball, bunt, move guys over, put pressure on defenses with their speed, steal bases. So you've got your power and your on-base guys up top, and then down at the bottom, I think they're going to need to get creative and manufacture some runs, which is actually very exciting to watch. It's not all about the home runs, stealing bases, going first to third. That's exciting stuff too.
And finally, Michael, if the Blue Jays are going to be successful, I'm wondering if you could give me 3 headlines that we all should be watching for, particularly in the early part of the season. If they are going to be successful, what should we be watching for in terms of Toronto, as terms of how Toronto is concerned?
3 things I think you should watch for. Definitely that young pitching right off the bat. It's going to be very telling to see how they perform. They start the season at Yankee Stadium for 3 games, and then they go to Baltimore. So that's 2 divisional opponents right off the bat, and then they come home and play Tampa. So that's 3 divisional series, and those young pitchers, they're going to need to show what they have. So that would be the first thing. Second would be, again, health. I can't overstate its importance here. Hopefully the Jays have gotten those injuries out of the way early this year. They've had such bad luck already. Hopefully they can stay healthy there. And I guess the third thing will be the bullpen. Can Cecil handle closing? I think he can. We'll see. And the 2 guys in setup roles now, it looks like are Castro and Asuna. I'm two more young guys. So can they come out in these high pressure situations and get that big strikeout, get that big double play? So those would be my keys.
And just one final one for you.
Sure.
Where do you see the Blue Jays finishing overall this season and in the division?
In the division, okay. I think they will challenge for that top spot. I think the two best teams in this division are the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. The Red Sox had a big offseason. They loaded up on offense. Their question mark, sort of like the Jays, is their pitching. So I guess whichever pitching staff between the Red Sox and the Jays can perform better, that team is going to end up on top. If the Jays do end up winning the division, they obviously get that playoff spot. If they don't win, I'm not too sure if they can lock up one of the wild cards. But I think they should definitely have a chance at the top spot in the AL East.
Well, Michael, we thank you for spending part of your afternoon with us on the Two-Man Advantage podcast, and we wish you a most exciting season watching and covering Blue Jays baseball.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Kevin. Thanks a lot for having me on.